Yeah, which is what it came across as, and she, no offense, but they basically pandered that to the audience anyway. It was like, wow, okay. I mean, you know when it's like no, there was no real, I guess there was no real. I guess the director wanted to be very blatant, wanted to be very kind of direct about what she was doing, and hence the reason why she basically said it. She basically said it in like the next episode. But what I'm trying to what I'm trying to say is, in terms of the way they built the character up, in terms of the way she was and everything, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. I don't really care. I agree with you in terms of like you never blame, you don't blame the third party for the affair. You blame the person who's in a marriage to have the affair. What I'm also saying is that, like, in terms of whether they built up the character as who she is, there should have been some form of, at least, her trying to stick to her guns, because that would make more sense to me in terms of the way that it was. That would make more sense to me. But
okay, maybe, but it's like it was established.
That was not what it was established as. It was established as.
Did we watch the same TV show? It quite literally was established. She says, "I'm doing this because I want to do what makes me happy. I want to be selfish. I don't care." She literally said that.
This is why I say it's a badly written scene, because it's one thing because when the guy spontaneously came over, there was no in between. There was almost kind of no in between them to show that him coming over was essentially was her making the decision. It was more he came over, this happened, and then it just kept on going. And then when she spoke to her friend, it was like she was making the justification for it. She was justifying herself. She was trying to say, I'm just gonna. I like what I'm in the situation now. I like it. It's making me happy, and I want to continue doing it. She wasn't saying.
I mean, that's the entire point. Sorry, like you're just saying what I just said in a different way. That's the entire point, Tony. Right? That scene is her justification for what she's doing, because up until that point, we didn't really have any context for why she just let this random guy in, why she had an affair with him. We're all mad at her. Like, why are you sleeping with him? It makes no sense. And it's later on when she talks to the friend, she justifies it and basically explains to the audience why she's doing this insanity. And then we're like, okay, she's just being a selfish SOB, basically. That scene is the justification. It doesn't mean that what she's doing is right. She knows it's not right, but she's doing what she wants. And that was basically info dumping us, the audience.
I'm not arguing that point. What I'm arguing is,
okay,
it seemed to me after they did that scene, it seemed to me that they had to put in that next part to justify to kind of still keep her on this level. And as it was,
right, to give us like a late info dump to explain what's going on, because at the beginning it's like what, like how, okay, and then later on, like after all those sex scenes, after all those very pornified sex scenes, thank you very much, it was like so why are they sleeping together again? And then we get that scene where she's like, I'm sleeping with him because I want to do what I want to do. I'm gonna send my son away to like France or whatever, so I can bang him like crazy and discover myself.
What exactly is TNT? I don't know if that's a British show or any type of show. I just want to know what it is.
Yeah, so what some guy just messaged us there. So you want to explain what TNT is? Show?
I was wondering what was going on. I didn't realize. I just saw this message. I'm like, what is this? What's happening? Am I losing my mind? It's like, it's like, it's our names. I'm T and you're T. It's the beginning of our names.
Yeah. Just but he wants to know about the show, what we're trying to do here and everything.
We just critique movies, life, like grumpy old people.
Yeah, this is what we do this on a normal day. We just
we just do this constantly. Like I just call him up and be like, "Did you just see the next episode of blah 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 blah? This one particular 5-second scene means this," and then we'll argue about it for 3 weeks.
Yeah. So essentially, we're talking about the show that just come out on Netflix called Behind Her Eyes.
It's a British TV show. It's got a pretty good budget.
If you haven't seen it, the spoilers alert. I mean, to be fair, the show also, when I searched up online, it also really, a lot of people there was some articles saying that the gay community were offended, and apparently the astral projection.
Really, I love that show. I really liked it. I really enjoyed the show. And then at the end, I was such an idiot. I should have seen it coming. And then at the end, when you realize that she was the gay guy who was my favorite character the entire time, by the way, all along, and you just realize that she's straight up evil. She's straight up crazy. And I'm like, you're fabulous, you're crazy, and you were gay in your previous life. Like, I love you. Like, I love you. Okay.
It was a great twist. It was a good concluding twist at the end. I like that. That was very much.
Yeah, because I was thinking, why is her flying thing a different color? And then I'm like, oh, it's the guy.
I mean, okay, but then when you watch a lot of movies like obviously Rehab kind of thing.
Yeah, I should have seen it coming.
The bit where she calls her and Black Chick still wants to be a superhero. I was like, what's wrong with you? You know what I mean? Why are you trying to?
Oh my god, yeah, I would let her burn. I mean, she wrote what you call it? She wrote a suicide note. I would have let her burn. I mean, she literally went to the other. Oh my god, do you remember when she went to the other woman's place, right? Like, she owns a cafe, and that other woman was like, yeah, she tried to like threaten me. She's a homicidal maniac. Why are you going to, like, she pulls stunts like this all the time. Like, you literally know for a fact, even by reading the guy's book, that he pulls stunts like this all the time. And you went to save her. You went to save the crazy girl. Oh my god, like, nah, like, I'm dead. Goodbye.
You know what? Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I honestly, I get why she's like, oh, she's still my friend, kind of. Maybe she wanted to be a superhero, but I mean, no offense. There was a fire going on. Honestly, she could have saved her just by calling the police. The police could have been around like, what, 10, 15 minutes?
Honestly, the end part was a good lesson for Black women. I think the end part was a good lesson for Black women. So many Black women have been conditioned, and like so much media has shows Black women as like the save a hoe chick, the has to take on everyone's struggle chick. Like, Black women are some of the least protected people in the entire world. So her dying, saving this crazy ass bee out here, that's your lesson, sis, because that's real life. That's real life. Don't save her. Save yourself. You know, you should have let her burn, take the suicide message so you can get him out of jail, and then continue sleeping with her man. Like, who cares?
I mean, you know.
Even though he's trash.
Yeah, that's very true. I mean.
Okay, but anyway, can we talk about the gay representation before we get off on this? Okay. Because what I liked about it is I really liked his character. Yeah. I like that he was clearly obsessed with this girl, kind of crazy, and I just really loved his character development. They very much clearly depicted him as someone who, it's like you trust him and you like him, but then at the same time, constantly in the background, there's so much evidence that he's just not a good person. He's just not a good person, and it's not even just, like, some of it's his background, but some of it is just something else. Like, he's not he's like not an okay person, but then I understand that the gay representation, yeah?
In what proof do you know that he's a bad person? Honestly, I did not get the idea.
Okay, no, I feel like they depicted it throughout the series because it was hinted continuously. First of all, they met at a rehab center. Do you really think people who are at rehab centers are in any way okay? He comes from, like, this is very classist, but he comes from like a struggle background. But then in this background, he's also talking about how he hates his sister. His sister's a B. He talks about all the things he does, like stealing and stuff. He says that even though he's like getting high and stuff, he doesn't want to stop getting high. It's like, it's basically shown that he's never going to change. He has this bad side to him and he's never going to change. And it's the way that he's like almost unhealthily obsessed with it. At first it seems loving and caring, but slowly as the series go on, it develops that it's more than that.
Okay, here's my perspective from what I saw. I saw a guy who, yes, who struggles with drug issues, and then was like, and went to rehab, and essentially didn't want, and essentially got himself clean in rehab, and already consciously knew that if he left rehab, he would falter. He knew himself well enough to know that his home life situation was something that he just wasn't capable of handling. And he said that to the girl.
Oh yeah. Like, he was just going back to a mess. That's why he said he never wanted to not be high again, because his life really did suck. Like I'm not mad at him for always wanting to be high.
But yeah, the funny thing, in rehab he was clean. Which proves the point that maybe it's his home life, maybe it's his background, maybe the people around him outside of rehab were essentially the bad influences, the things were what essentially are pushing him to be that way. Then he goes back into his. Then when you see him in his background, he goes back home and everything. You see the people around him, and they are belittling, and they seem to be belittling. They seem to be not the best supportive system that there is. And so he falls back into his own behavior. He's no offense, but he just seems like a guy who's very lonely. And also
It's like he has nothing and she has everything. Beauty, youth, a hunky man,
and
millions.
the other side of it, and the other side of reality about it is also that he's gay, and we don't even know whether his family knows he's gay. Or
I feel like it's pretty implied they know. Like, I feel like if it's not mentioned, then I think they know. Like, unless it's like actively mentioned, I just assume in a series that unless it's previously shown, they know.
Here's my point about it. I don't because when you're watching the first 5 to 6 to up to the about 4 episodes, you still have that question whether he is gay or not. He's got a bit of, you can see that he's a bit camp in my opinion. You can see that he's a bit.
I really didn't clock it.
But the point, when you read in the book, he's like, I love this girl. I'm in love with her.
Yeah, so I thought like, oh, he loved her and he was like the love rival. But honestly, at first I did really like the depiction of him as a gay character. And I really loved the depiction of a platonic relationship between a man and a woman. I thought it was very healthy because they loved each other genuinely, and it was like kind of, like in a way equal. She just loved him so much and he loved her. And I love how they're like hanging out and he's like, oh, I love you. And she's like, I love you too. And then like the woman comes over and says, oh, you love her. She has a boyfriend. And he's like, yeah, I'm gay though. And I'm like, yeah, exactly. You're gay though, but you still love her, but you're gay though. Take that.
He didn't say he was gay. He didn't say he was gay. He just said that he liked.
Yeah, he said he liked. Yeah, I'm just saying it in a polite way, Tony. He said that he liked a good bit of, I really love that scene because it's basically like touche.
The way I interpreted it was that maybe at first when I interpreted that it was maybe he was gay. At first I was like, okay, maybe he's gay or something. But then I also interpreted it as maybe he's not so much straight. So as it went along by episode 4, I was like, okay, maybe it seemed like he could be just bi, and because he was saying he was in love.
Yeah, that's what I thought. That's what I thought.
So I was like, okay. So my opinion was he was definitely bi, and maybe he was very super attracted to the girl in this scenario, that he was mentally connected.
Yeah, like she was one of those once in a lifetime exceptions that prove you're probably bi, but you're probably like 98% one gender.
Hands down, I liked his character. Just hands down, I did.
Oh, I loved him. I loved him. Yeah. He was so well written as the villain. I mean, I guess in a way, a bad representation for gay people. They should have had some kind of balanced representation to be like, this gay person basically feels all like, heteronormative fears about gay people being like obsessed and jealous of your perfect relationship. And then just to make sure you realize that this isn't real, this is a gay couple and they're getting married and their lives are great and everything's fine and perfect. And you're like, oh, right, of course. Yeah. This person's just insane. There's the difference. Yeah. But they didn't do that. But oh my God, his character was so intense. I loved the actor. Such great casting. He was so intense, the way he stared, the way his lead was palpable. I loved him.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. And then what my interpretation of him when he was what I took away from it essentially was that when I was viewing it, like, I understood that he was gay and everything, but what I understood more was he had his troublesome home life, and I think also obviously his troublesome home life, and maybe that he wasn't open, that he was gay to his family. Hence the reason why he has such deep loneliness and isolation from them. I say because he seemed like the odd man out, like he just didn't fit in.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And they never felt like to include him. They just, especially his sister's response. Do you remember the sister's response when
when they found out he was dead? It was like, yeah, I don't care. And I was like, okay.
Yeah, he could be dead for. He just disappeared. He could be dead for all I know, and I wouldn't care. And I was like, wow, you know what I mean? I mean,
yeah.
That's
I guess it's the story of how like environment can create a monster. But then I think the classist idea is kind of the poor person not knowing their place. So it's basically the whole kind of story of the rich, pretty, perfect, nice girl making friends with the ugly Scrooge pauper, and then bringing them into her house, trying to take care of him and stuff. And then him basically the story of a rich person being generous, only to subsequently be eaten by the poor. That's literally it's a classist story, but that's basically the story. You know, he's so needy and he's about to lose her and he literally has nothing. So he doesn't 180. But I feel like it was okay before. He had this fear that he was gonna lose her. But I feel like what pushed him over the edge is that like it was love at first sight when he saw her boyfriend. It was love at first sight. At first he's like, oh, I don't like him, I hate him. Because, you know, he was competition for her affection because he does genuinely love her, right? And she's basically his only source of love, affection, and acceptance. But when he saw him, he was like, "Hey, hello, Scotland."
Okay. Here's my thing, though. My thought was that he was in love with both of them when he met him as well.
I don't think that's how the story went, but I got a very bi vibe. When he came on, I thought they were going to have a three-way. He came on and he looked at him like, hello. I genuinely thought they were going to have a three-way. I got such bi vibes. I thought, and she's like, oh my God, my two favorite guys. I thought that they were going to have a gay affair and then she was going to kill him, or they were going to have like a three-way that ended badly because like he gets jealous or something. Like I literally thought that's how it was going to be, because when he came on the scene, the way he stared at the gay guy was like, yeah, this is going to be a threesome and I'm on top. And I'm like, what? I think that was just bad cinematography. I think it was bad cinematography.
But you know what? Yeah. But to be fair, if they'd done it like that, it would have just been pandering the same old.
Way more interesting.
Yeah. No, it would have been pandering. What they wrote was more interesting than the whole bi situation, because you know, we always want to think that. I think most people always want to think, oh yeah, you know, in this situation, it seems like, you know, polyamorism would be the way to go and kind of thing.
I didn't really think that was what they were going for. I think that scene was an accident. Do you remember that whole commercial where there's the brother and sister and there was that joke going around for ages before they edited the ad and put it back online, where the brother comes home from, I don't know, Iraq or some crap because it's America, and then the brother and sister like sharing some kind of Christmas food and they look at each other so intensely. I remember that as a kid, and I was thinking to myself, this brother and sister want to F. This brother and sister want to break down.
Hey, you know, their chemistry is so strong.
Right? Like I was watching this like, they brother and sister though. They look like they're about to like do it on the counter. I remember when I first heard that. I remember when somebody first told me that's the brothers. I was like, wait, what? It was like I swear it was legit just like.
I almost died.
It was like legit just like, it's like, oh, what do you want for Christmas? It's like, I wanted you for Christmas. I'm sorry, but I have 4 other siblings. No, I got 6 other siblings, yeah? At no point have I looked at any of my siblings, despite their gender, and be like, I wanted you for Christmas. Like, Tony, have I ever said that to you? If I do, you know, you have to, you know, douse gasoline on me, light that ish on fire.
I would be like, girl, you need Jesus.
Girl, man, you need incest Jesus. Hey.
I just never understood what they, maybe the accent, but I just never understood what they saw in that guy. It was very obvious that the guy was a bit of a dick. And then they do the character save at the end. You know what I mean? They try to do the character save where he got the girl fired, a single working mother, he still got her fired, and it was only because the other white man was graceful enough to say, actually, do you know what? We'll just put you on a 1-month furlough instead of just accepting your resignation instead. You know what I mean? But he was still okay to get her fired and stuff. I was like, wow, okay.
Even though
and then after that, and then at the end, she was like, oh, she put it together that basically this girl can do astral projection. She knew everything from the very beginning, and she was being still manipulated, but yet it was still okay for him to do what he did. I was like, are you crazy? You know, just because she did what she did does not give him the right. I mean, it's one thing to interact, to come at her personally in her personal life and stuff. It's another thing to mess with her livelihood, you know, because she was there.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. And he wasn't even there to listen. Like, she's the one who approached him, and he knew how dangerous she was, and he couldn't even be an adult enough to really explain what was going on. He just punished her.
He's like, he doesn't, you know, you kind of notice how he's not culpable for anything that he did. Like he blames the woman for ruining he blames his wife for being psychotic to kill somebody and ruining their marriage and making him feel the way he feels, and then he blames her for interacting with his wife and the affair essentially, and therefore he got rid of her. It's like, okay, it's like he basically when he was done with both women, he basically chooses to just get rid of both of them just because he can. He goes to the police to try and get rid of to dob his wife in, and then when he was done with the black girl, he dumps her and then gets her fired and fires her at the same time, so he doesn't have to have anything else to do with her. It's kind of like, okay. And then at the end, she's like, I still want to be with you because I learned the truth. So you getting me fired and essentially taking food out of my child's mouth is okay. It's like, who wrote this? What? Honestly,
I think we've already talked about that.
Well, okay, well, yeah, maybe, okay. I guess I.
No, sorry. Like, no, I agree with what you're saying, but I feel like we're just rehashing what we already spoke about, because we already talked about how her taking her back after he literally abused his power and pretty much put her out of a job when she has a child to take care of was just. That's why I lost it. After he got her fired, I was like, never take him back, but she still did. And he's all like, oh, I love you, I'm gonna fix it, and I'm like, no, like, okay, be with the crazy one.
My question is that poor writing, or is that very realistic?
To be honest, some women really are just doormats. That's not to be a horrible thing, but some people really are just raised to be doormats. Their boundaries aren't taken care of or anything like that, and they're basically taught to not have boundaries. So even if their gut feeling tells them that this is where I end and the other person begins, I am not comfortable as a person with this thing, they'll just ignore it and go with the flow. So some women have been abused enough in their lives that they are like that. They will accept that, even though for people who are raised slightly better than that, will see that as a red flag and say no. But the truth of the matter is, we're all human and we've all fallen for something like that at some point, even though just don't take it back. Okay,
but what I'm asking though is, in terms of what we know as her character and the way she kind of confronts him on his behavior and how she felt that he was essentially mistreating his wife. Did you think that it was in her character not to have essentially, gone scorched earth mode, and essentially, if she's gonna get fired?
Yeah, I do think that was out of character. The fact that she was I think they were trying to force a happy ending with her and that guy, so they could get the twist ending. But I really feel like the whole idea where he's like, oh, actually, I am a good guy, I'm just a tortured soul, and really no, he's just a cheating asshole, and an abuser. So, like, I really do think they just forced that scene to happen so that they could do the whole switcheroo. But I don't think that scene needed to happen. I think she could have warned him without creating that door where he could come back into her life after essentially ruining it. I feel like she could have been like, no, I don't want to be with you, but you need to do the right thing, goodbye. She could have done that and kept her dignity, but she didn't. And they could have still had the twist ending where she tries to go and help the woman, and then as the possessed woman, she could come back and be like, actually, I want to be with you, when really she's no longer herself. So that scene where she forgives him as her normal self didn't need to happen.
Yeah, because that would have made sense because in my opinion that would have made more sense, and then and then her doing the whole turnaround and forgiving him would have been the guy swapped into her body. Because that would have made much more sense for her character.